I often get asked, how do I adjust or change my fan belt on my Type 1 engine? They're very simple. All you need is a wrench with either a 19 or 21mm socket, that depends on the size of the nut on your particular vehicle, and a flat blade screwdriver. That's the only tools you should need. So, this particular model is a dynamo. You may well have an alternator, which is slightly bigger. The alternators tend to be a bit easier because you've got basically more places to kind of put the screwdriver. So there's little slots all the way around on the back of the pulley, and what you do is you put the screwdriver into that slot and it should come into contact either over here for an alternator and over here for an alternator, or at the top for a dynamo. And you basically put in that screwdriver in to get it to jam against one of the screws inside. Now they do make a special tool for this, but as you and I probably don't do it that often, you can use a screwdriver perfectly fine. Then what you want to do is you want to undo that nut. Now it might be quite tight. One little trick that you can do if you can get this screwdriver to jam is you can actually tap on it like this, and that usually helps to undo it rather than forcing it and it suddenly going bang. So once that's started to come off and be loose, I can pop my tools down to one side. I can get this nut off of here. I can then take this plate off here, and then you'll see there's lots of shims. So keep those. You can then pop off the front face of the pulley. You can then take off your fan belt, and you want to have a good look at it. If you're basically thinking of changing it but you're not sure if it's past its best yet, what you want to do is have a good look. You might be able to see on this one it's got a nice split there, so I would be getting rid of this, but I keep that to teach people what to look for. Then you also want to have a look at the inside of the belt, see if there's any cracks or anything that's a bit worn. So presuming I was putting a new belt on here, what I can do is, if it's going to be nice and tight, which it will be when it's new, I can line this pulley up. You might notice it has a curved edge on one side and then two little notches on the other side. So this will only fit one way round. So we get that on there. And then you kind of want to wiggle the pulley on whilst kind of bringing the sides up here and see where it is. Now this to me looks like it's going to be the right tension. However, if it was going to be too tight, what I'll be doing now, remember those shims? I'll be popping those shims inside of there, and what that essentially does is it brings this pulley further out, and the gap where the belt sits basically becomes bigger. So therefore the belt will sit further down and we can adjust the tension and make it looser. Now if I wanted to make it tighter, these shims come out. That will then push this further forwards and push this belt up higher and therefore make it tighter. So adding shims makes it looser, removing shims makes it tighter. So I'm quite happy with no shims on there at the moment because this is a fairly worn belt that I show people as an example. Once you can kind of get them on there and the plate, just do it up by hand initially. You want to kind of just turn it around to make sure that you're not going to get stuck on that belt and it's all going to be all over the place. So get it sort of fairly flat if you can, even bring the sides up of those belt. Then what you can do initially, just with your wrench, is start to turn it so it starts to go nice and tight. Then what we should see at some point is it goes tight enough to start gripping and turning that pulley. When it starts to go and turn the pulley nicely, what we can then do is go for a final tighten. Again, I will find my little spot where I can put my screwdriver in, and then what I'll do is basically tighten that by hand as hard as I can. That should now be a nice tension. The tension you're looking for is either about 1 centimetre of play either side, or if you twist it towards you, you should be able to twist the flat edge towards you but not really any further. And that's how you either change or adjust a fan belt on a Type 1 engine.